Our dear viewers, and welcome to our special coverage for the visit by the Belarusian Prime Minister to Egypt. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli held a joint press conference with visiting Belarusian Prime Minister in the new administrative capital on Tuesday. Madbouli said they agreed to promote mutual investment and commercial ties. He also expressed Egypt's aspiration to benefit from the Belarusian experience in various economic and industrial fields, and the heavy metals industry in particular. For his part, the Belarusian Prime Minister expressed keenness on boosting trade ties with Egypt. The two sides witnessed the signing of agreements and MOUs. The Egyptian-Belarusian Business Forum convened, which is on its sixth edition following the press conference. It brought together high-profile business figures from both countries. To shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon to you,
Good afternoon. How are you?
How are you, sir? Mr. Ambassador, how do you see the timing of the visit by the Belarusian Prime Minister to Egypt?
Very important. Now we are visiting old files where we have privilege to be partners with Belarus and all those parts of the world, the countries which were part of the Warsaw Pact.
Yes.
They were up till mid-70s our main trade partner, with, of course, with Russia, Soviet Union, and all the Eastern Bloc, we called it. Two developments happened. On the first side, the collapse of the communism and the Soviet Union and the Berlin Walls. So they became free economies instead of communist. On our side, we started our peace process mid-70s, and the European Union became our main trade economic partner. And Russia didn't like what we did that time as the peace treaty, and they started to annoy us. By the way, they didn't like when Gamal Abdel Nasser joined the GATT, and they said it is an imperialist organization.
Yes.
Because of that, they joined the imperialist organization 40 years after Egypt. Just I want to mention between brackets that all those who make difference with our foreign policy, they regret it and they follow us later on, but 40 years later. Anyway, now this is a very important country. It used to be our one of our main trade partners. It is a vote in the United Nations, of course. Egypt recognized it when it was established, and there is a lot of interest between the two countries, whether in trade, economy, even in the cultural dimension. So good that we are visiting this file again. We are becoming able to visit this important market, to continue exporting, to continue importing from them. It's not, it's a relatively small country, but anyway, it is a friend, and we have a history there, and I'm happy to see that we are bringing back all these files to our interests.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Ambassador, also trade between Egypt and Belarus amounts to almost 95 million US dollars. How do you read this number, and we expect, as we witnessed the sixth business forum between Egypt and Belarus to be held today in Egypt, that number actually to increase in the coming days?
The figure is not that big, but anyway, with such a relatively small country, it's something.
Yes.
And $95 million is not very bad. It can open 95,000 jobs in our country. And of course, I always remind my audience that every ton of potatoes we export, it creates 4 jobs. So export is the answer to our economic challenge now, and we are trying to maintain our export to be much more than it is going on.
Yes.
And after all, we are a sort of service economy.
Yes.
Our main revenue is coming from services, not from commodities.
Yes.
And it makes a trick that Suez Canal or tourism or building sector and so on is also very important to us.
Indeed.
So we hope that Belarus will come again and we shall restore this very important friend and relatively important market.
Indeed. Mr. Ambassador, how do you weigh actually the importance of the Egyptian-Belarusian Forum, which is on its 6th edition for both sides?
Nowadays, we are marketing for our very important file, which is Gaza.
Yes.
We are trying to find all the votes we can use in order to defend our problem in Gaza, to stop the killing there, to stop the war. And after all, Belarus is an important vote in the United Nations. And I am really proud that when we went to the United Nations General Assembly, we gained 152 votes with us. Most of them, of course, are those friends, and only 2 countries vote against our aim.
Yes.
So we have a very solid foreign policy. Those countries are very important, although relatively not very big, but anyway, it is one more vote to support our cases.
Yes. Sir, also Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli expressed Egypt's aspiration to benefit from the Belarusian experience in various economic and industrial fields and heavy industries in particular. How important is this for Egypt?
Yes, it is very important, and we are trying to make use of any experience from a friendly country. By the way, between brackets, I admire the speech of our Prime Minister. It's the first time I saw him in such an international gathering, talking in perfect English, and he was the only one who the whole listeners were clapping to him, and he was highly successful, and he gave his points immediately.
Yes,
so
indeed.
I believe what he said, that of course we can learn from others.
Yes.
Also, others are learning from us, our many experiences, especially in negotiations with the European Union, because such a country is a candidature to be first the neighbor to the European Union, then they aim at being member in the European Union. And as you all know, we have a long experience in negotiations with the European Union in these matters.
Yes. Also, the signing of MOUs between the 2 sides, the Ministry of Trade and Industry said that the Egyptian state provides incentives actually to investors. How have new investment laws impacted the investment atmosphere in Egypt, Mr. Ambassador?
We are in absolute need to add to our industrial production.
Indeed.
Because as you will know, agriculture is limited to the quantity of water we have.
Yes.
Industry has no limit. We can continue making more and more industries. And as a small, humble citizen coming from Damietta, I know how Damietta and the model of Damietta can be doubled everywhere to produce many things which can be of good use to us and of good products to export everywhere in the world. Yes, we can learn and we need to learn from others.
Of course. Sir, how do you see Cairo's keenness on boosting cooperation with Eastern European countries?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
How do you see Cairo's keenness on boosting the cooperation with the Eastern European countries?
They are a good supporter to us, and they used to support the Palestinian question, of course. And the headache is not Palestine only. We have problems in Syria, we have problems in Iraq, in Libya, in Sudan. The case is not that favorable. Yemen is threatening our Red Sea maritime and the Mediterranean.
Yes.
So we need the cooperation of everybody in order to stop this headache of the
Indeed.
problems around us. The whole Arab world is not in its very good health.
Yes.
And every addition to help us, it is very much welcomed.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Ambassador, how does cementing economic ties with the other countries help at times of the global challenges?
The whole world is suffering, of course, because
Yes.
of one problem or another. We started by the corona epidemic. Now we have
Yes.
the war in Ukraine. We have the stress situation between United States and China and Russia.
Yeah.
All this environment is affecting the whole international economy. And of course, we are in our part of the world, our economy is open, and because it is open, so it is open to import problems also. But thank God that Egypt is one rare Arab country still standing on its feet, and we are trying to help ourselves
Yes.
and to help the environment around us. So in the Arab world, with the exception of Egypt and the 6 Gulf states, plus
Yes.
Morocco and Algeria,
Yeah.
the whole Arab world is suffering from one way or another.
Indeed.
So we have to face this. We have to live with it. We have to know the reason not to be upset and to be sure that we are coming very soon to get rid of all these problems. And inshallah, we shall be in a much better situation very soon.
Hope so. Sir, the Prime Minister said that cooperation opportunities between the two sides are promising. Actually, how would you list the cooperation opportunities between both Egypt and Belarus?
Yes, I do not ignore any small country to be in the position of exchanging experience, exchanging views. Of course, they are members of the Eastern Bloc, and they can tell us what is going on here and there. So we as a good listener, I can immediately get all the reasons and the possibility to know what's going on around us. So this is the importance of a meeting like that, and I am sure with our Prime Minister, with the ministers around him, and our Belarus counterpart and the ministers around him, they can exchange opinion. One more thing that they, both sides are coming with some businessmen community also to exchange opinion and to exchange ideas.
Yes.
So we hope that many products will be created during such a meeting in the near future.
Indeed. Mr. Ambassador, on a wider scale, the Prime Minister talked about the incentives given to the investors to increase the FDI. Also, he talked about the infrastructure which was developed also in order to attract more investments. He talked about the change of laws in order to facilitate everything for the investors. How do you see all these incentives and all the facilities made so far by the Egyptian administration in order to increase the foreign direct investment?
On the good side, I see that Egypt is the most attractive Arab country for investment. We attract foreign direct investment much more than any country in our area or within the Arab world. On the bad side, I see that on the national level, we are not yet decided whether we accept and welcome foreigners to be investors in our country. And the mass media is not doing its job here. And I have a famous say, some people repeated it, that we encourage investment, but we never see in our movies any good businessman. All the businessmen in our movies are thieves. And there is a movie called My Dear, We All Are Thieves. This is the culture in our local environment now. We have to bring this to much better situation, because once Gamal Abdel Nasser said that what is killing investment is not the bad bureaucracy only, but the feeling that the foreigner is your enemy. And in a country like Egypt, we are open to all foreigners. We speak many languages. We always like to talk to foreigners, and tourism is one good example.
Indeed.
That we have that we have 11 million Egyptians living abroad is another example. So here we have to make good effort in order to make the layman in Egypt knows how foreign direct investment is very important to all of us.
Yes. Also, the Prime Minister, sir, talked about our unique location, which actually could facilitate exporting the products and the material from Belarus, having some industries, and also using this location to use these products and export it to other countries in Africa as well as to Europe. So how do you see the importance of our unique location for having more cooperation in the field of industry and also exporting to countries in Africa and the Arab world?
This is one way we market about the Egyptian economy and the investment in Egypt. That if you invest in Egypt, then you are not investing only in a market of 100 million inhabitants. No, it's much bigger than that. We are open to 51 countries in the African Union, 1,200 million inhabitants. We are open to the European Union, 500 million inhabitants, and to the Arab free market also. This means that we have a market of 2,000 million inhabitants open to us without any custom duties or any trade barriers. This is the way we are marketing and making our propaganda to all those candidates for investment in Egypt. And I think we made a good point by saying this and presenting Egypt such a way.
Of course. Also, sir, the Prime Minister talked about the economic zone of the Suez Canal and how we can use this location in order to increase our cooperation in manufacturing and in assembly, like the case in the tractors between Egypt and Belarus. How do you see the cooperation in the field of industry and assembly between both countries?
Very good idea we are selling nowadays. Suez Canal is not only the most important waterway passage, but it is becoming a industrial zone and a very good place to invest, either by making merchandise to sell it from our geographical relatively good position, or to make storage. By the way, when we buy coffee from Brazil or sugar from Cuba, we buy it from Beirut because they have their storage in those countries. Japan has its storage in Britain in order to be near to the market. So thank God that we are almost in the middle of everywhere. So we are selling here the geographical position of Egypt. We are asking other countries to come, either to manufacture their products or at least to restore it in order to be near to every market possible in the world.
Yes. Back to the point of industrialization, sir, and increasing the cooperation in the field of industry, especially also in the field of tractors and heavy machinery of agricultural purposes as well. How do you see the cooperation in that domain, and to what extent that could help the Egyptian economy?
We need it very much because, as a matter of fact,
Yes.
we have a relatively problem here. Most of the investments coming between the Arabs are going to services, whether it is for tourism or for housing or banking system. By 80% the investment in those fields. And only 9% goes to industry and 2% to agriculture and food production,
Yes.
which we needed tremendously. We have a gap in the Arab world of $50 billion. We have to fill it, and it's a shame of us while we have countries like Egypt or Sudan, Syria, Iraq, all these countries can expand their agricultural production also. So that's why we are asking for much more good attitude to industry and agriculture, because services is absorbing all the coming investment to our countries.
Indeed. Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much, sir, for your very precious input. Always a pleasure to listen to your precious input, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. Our dear viewers, earlier today, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli held a joint press conference with his Belarusian counterpart, who is visiting Cairo. Also, they attended the 6th edition of the Egyptian Belarusian Forum taking place here in Egypt, and that was our special coverage for both the press conference and the business forum that took place earlier today. Many thanks for watching.